Okay, I think we are online now. Well, let's see.
Yep.
Zoom. So sorry about the delay here. So, okay, we're still working on our book, Christ's Method Alone. I think last time we only got one page, but that's okay. There is much more. And I think we're on page, 58 in the new book. What I have here on my computer is a page behind, but virtually the same thing. So, anyway, why don't we go ahead and have prayer and we'll get started. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your blessings and for the opportunity and health and strength and actually the beautiful weather today that we've had, that we can all get together. And today we come because we want to be in your presence. We want to enjoy Christian fellowship with each other, and we want to have your Spirit to speak to our hearts, lead, guide us, and mold us and fashion us into your likeness. So we ask for this to be a reality, and we thank you for hearing and answering our prayer. For we pray it in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Okay. So, we'll got some silly ad coming up on my computer and I can't get it to close. Anyway, there we go. All right, maybe Beverly, would you like to start reading for us?
Okay. Your brother's keeper. In our post-modern age, people are becoming increasingly more self-absorbed, and the extensive, ever hypnotic use of the electronic media exacerbates
Yeah.
the situation we find ourselves in. Today, I see individuals totally absorbed in using their smartphones with all its various functions, even during church worship and counseling sessions. I am surprised once in a while to see people texting during prayer.
Wow.
So, are you guilty? Do you use your phone during worship?
Not one bit.
I do.
Only for purpose of
purpose of
yes.
Only if I'm taking pictures because we're doing something, an event to put on
Oh, okay.
Facebook.
Okay. What were you saying, Beverly?
No, I use it sometimes if I'm not for sure about something, I'll search.
Yeah.
But it's always biblical.
Yeah. Usually that's what I'm using mine for. I've got a Bible on my cell phone. Sometimes I look up things from the Spirit of Prophecy. You know, maybe the pastor's speaking about something, and I'm like, oh, I remember this, and I'll go look it up. Or I'll be like, I don't think so, and I'll look it up to see if I'm right or wrong. And,
but that's once in a blue moon.
Yeah. So no, I do use mine. So yeah, I think it really has to do with we don't exactly know why people are on their phones. Sometimes they might be just socializing on their phone, which that would be sad.
Mm-hmm.
If someone's wasting their time in church, doing that.
Yeah.
Because when you have your mind diverted, in the sanctuary of God to some other means, it's literally as if for you, like the story of the sower and the seed that we read a few weeks back. For you, the birds are stealing the seed right underneath your nose.
Mm-hmm.
You're missing out the blessing that God has for you. If you are taking your mind and thinking about other things, you can sit there not using your phone, but you can be thinking about other things, or you can be using your phone and you're in another place,
Yeah.
whether you're physically there or not.
You know, that can work two ways. A lot of times, things that you see occur
Yeah,
can also be a distraction
yeah,
to you
Yep.
yourself, because it takes you
Yep.
off of and thinking, putting your
Yep.
mind somewhere else. And I always go
Now-
put my blinders on.
Now for us, my wife and I, we've always sat up towards the front of the church.
Exactly.
Usually within
That's right.
3 to 4 pews of the front,
Mm-hmm.
maybe sometimes even on the front row. And because, as you're saying, Miss
Yes.
Beverly, that the things going on around you can end up being a distraction to your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, the
Yes.
birds are stealing the seed right underneath your nose,
Yeah.
and you're missing the point. Even tonight coming here, I was actually listening to that sermon I was mentioning online, and this morning I listened to it, and it was just like, wow, I've got all these ideas and thoughts that were coming through my head, but coming over here, it was almost like nothing. And because my mind was not quite focused, listening.
Yeah.
So, I had my mind on other things. And so, so that's an important element. All right, Sean?
We are becoming so controlled and manipulated by the electronic devices that our humanity is becoming increasingly diminished. We are bonding more with gadgets than with people, and we feel quite bothered when real people interrupt our electronic obsessions. Christ has a change for our self-centered hearts to help us become more others-centered, and to help us genuinely mingle with people as one's desires their God.
They're good?
They're good, sorry. God still wants us to treat people as a property,
Priority.
and to be indeed our brothers and our sisters' keepers.
Yeah. He brings up a little point there about being interrupted. And how many of you do you like to be interrupted when you're working on something?
Do not.
When you're working on a car and they're bugging you about something else? I'm somewhat the same way. When I'm working on one patient and they're bugging me about something else.
Or if a customer comes back there and yells for me, "Hey, what are you doing back there?"
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
gosh.
like, who let this guy back here?
Get him out!
Yeah.
How about
Just
crawling
completely.
out from under a car
Yeah.
and answering a phone call and they're trying to sell you something?
Oh, yeah.
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 Or, it's a waste.
Yeah. So, but the point is, if you're interrupted and you get upset, is that the way we are to react?
No.
No. That's not the way God would have us react. And so, like with the kids, if we were to interrupt them and they got upset at us, it was like automatic, what you're doing is wrong, and I don't care what you're doing because you got a bad attitude. And so you can even apply that then to yourself. If something really irritates you because you're being bothered, well then are you so absorbed in what you're doing that actually your mind is not on the things of God?
Well, brings to mind a perfect example when all of social media like Facebook went down.
Yeah.
Millions of people lost their minds.
Oh, really?
Teenagers
Mm.
couldn't get into their Instagram or TikToks or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, what am I going to do?
Frantic, yeah.
Like, when is it coming back up?
It was only like half a day or something.
Yeah.
It wasn't even that big of a deal.
Literally.
But yeah,
When was
they
this?
act like the world was over.
I didn't
Was
even
it
know.
last year or something?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
I totally don't even know.
Wow, that's the first I heard of it.
Well, the only reason I know about it is because I had people calling me like, oh, did you know? I'm like, no. I don't know.
I really don't care.
I don't care. Because, I don't even have Facebook on my phone. Not even the
Yeah,
churches.
I don't either.
I don't want it.
Yeah.
So if I get something, I'll have to get on my computer to look at it. But
Yeah.
yeah, they lost their mind.
Yeah.
They didn't know what to do.
Yeah,
They didn't know what to do themselves.
yeah.
It was,
So yeah, our relationships in life, hopefully they're not revolving around the media, but the relationships I'm hoping are revolving around real, time and communication with the people that you care about.
well, that's the problem with the younger generation. They're so obsessed with the electronic stuff that if you interrupt their session, they have an aneurysm.
Yeah,
I mean, not to be mean, but they do. Because, like, for example, if, like, my granddaughters, if I'm their faces are buried and I'm like, give me that.
yeah, that's what we did with the kids. I think that's a problem.
Yeah. It's like, I don't
You need time out.
I looked at my granddaughter this week and I said, you are not too big for me to put my hand up against your tail, girl.
Uh-oh.
Well, anyway.
We've got 4 great-grandchildren and they all have smartphones.
Mm.
Hmm.
And finally, and they come in and they find a place to plug them in,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and then they hole up there and you don't hear them, you don't see them.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
How old are they?
So my wife said something to their mother, and so she says, maybe you kids ought to leave your smartphones in the car when you go into Grandma and Grandpa's.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a pretty hectic evening. I mean, but that's good. That's good. At least,
Yeah.
At least you got their attention.
Yeah.
there was communication.
Yeah.
Well, that's just,
Yeah.
my granddaughters do the same thing. They do not leave home without their phone, their hairbrush, and their charging cable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would recommend that if you're going to take away, something that they enjoy, they want to do, then you need to make the time, useful to them.
Right.
Spend time with them, play a game, or do something that makes it worthwhile. So they're not just saying, "Mom, when are we going home?" So spend time with them, develop the relationship.
My daughter takes them down to Red River Gorge and takes them climbing.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, just got to watch out for the copperheads. I've never seen so many copperheads as I have down there. Every time I go, I see one.
Mm-hmm.
Nowhere else do I walk that I see that.
Have you ridden that big
Monorail?
monorail?
At the gorge?
Yeah,
No, I didn't even know they had one.
we did it about 5 years ago,
Hmm.
and it was an amazing ride.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
I didn't think Jenny could do it. She says, I can do it. I don't think she'd say it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gone downhill for her pretty much.
Okay, next one.
I may not get some of these words right.
Okay, that's fine. We'll help you.
One of the greatest needs in our world is for the type of social mingling that Jesus displayed in his life. There is a void for genuine love all around us, but we can fill that vacuum because his love floods and flows through our lives.
Mm.
And in doing so, we pleasantly startle people with the realization that there are followers of Christ in this world who love them as he does, and for their own sake.
Mm-hmm.
Do we realize that we have at our disposal the most awesome power in the whole universe to change the human heart? The enormous power of genuine love. Christ's loving initiative toward the Samaritan woman was so far-reaching that it radically altered not only the course of her life, but also that of her people.
Yeah. So my family, well, I should say my wife's family, they her sisters, basically, and herself, I think it basically came from their mom. They really, I think, know how to show genuine interest and love to people. Like typically, when we come here, what does my wife usually do for you guys?
She cooks.
Do you like it?
Yes.
Well, yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I tell her, you don't have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
She says, I know I don't, but I think they like it.
Yeah.
That's really sweet.
But the sad thing is, since she hurt her back a couple weeks ago, I don't think it's going to happen this weekend. Did Uncle call you at all?
No.
Yeah, so I don't know. She was talking about trying to make something simple, or I don't know if you guys want to try to make it like a little potluck this time, where a couple of you help out. But normally she'll spend a little bit of time in the kitchen on Friday, but she can't stand that long until she gets her back. I just saw the X-ray today, and she's wrenched over, and she's got a pinched disc that hopefully it'll get better. We've been working on her.
I can make dessert.
So I'll talk to her tonight,
Okay.
and maybe I'll send you guys a text then tomorrow, and
Okay.
or maybe Uncle will call you, Bev,
Okay.
and see what will happen there. But just things like that, I've noticed that she would do. Like her sister, when she would go to Kroger, she would be on the lookout for other Korean people, and if she would find them, she'd go up and talk to them and get their phone number and invite them over. And how many people do that?
Yeah, not a whole,
Not
hardly
many.
anybody. Really.
Have you ever gone to Kroger's looking for somebody?
Mm-mm.
Of course, very specific. She's looking for, a demographic, a Korean person. But what if we were to be that friendly?
Yeah.
Why do we have to look for a specific demographic? Why not be friendly to
Yeah.
people, just genuinely friendly,
Mm-hmm.
and see what God might do?
Mhm.
Well, it's no surprise that the Korean church up there, where my sister-in-law and was involved with, they grew. How many churches are growing these days?
Not many.
Not many. The Protestant denomination, in the world, is shrinking every year. So it shows that it's a failure. Even if we were just to keep our kids, it shows a failure that we've not been able to transfer the faith to our children, let alone to someone else. And so there has to be a radical reformation within God's people in order to make this change. My thought is, which I believe it's the same thing as Philip Samaan's, it boils down to genuine love. Are you willing to put yourself out in service and care for somebody else? Like I've mentioned before in the past sermons, that love cannot be understood or seen unless you have sacrifice. Are you willing to sacrifice your time, your money, your effort to try to reach somebody? Because if we're not, we're just plain Christian. Yes, Pam.
To build on what you just said,
Mhm.
in the second book of this series,
Mhm.
I read my third chapter, and
And what's the name of that series?
Yeah, there's 3 books in the series.
What's the name of it?
Steps to Personal Revival.
By?
Helmet Haubel, Haubel,
Okay, thank you. That way our listeners can hear.
Yes. It mentioned, and it was sort of like wasn't really a quote, but it said other writers have said, self-surrender is measured by your money,
Mm.
by your time,
Mm.
by your trust in God,
Mm.
and it listed 2 more,
Mm.
but and it opened my eyes.
Yes.
God, he wants all of us,
Mm.
and he wants us to trust his decisions,
Yes,
and that is a form of self-surrender.
yes,
And it was an amazing read.
yeah, yep. Yeah, so each one of us need to, my personal choice is that if God has something for me to do, and He makes it clear that that's what He wants me to do, that whatever in my life, I will put it aside. Obviously, I have to go to work. I have to take care of some certain personal things, in order to live, and I do those things. But then, if there's a call on me to do something for God, I do it.
A lot of those things take second.
Yeah, even my project in Tennessee that I'm working on, and the other things that I'm doing, all that takes second. And I do whatever God calls me to do. And but I do think that we could probably be more intentional in terms of trying to be friendly, to seek people. If they reject us, I mean, there's nothing that we can do, except maybe look and see if we can find better ways of being. So think about that. Pray about that. Okay. Next paragraph.
God in his love once well. He caringly transcended her, focused on her as his priority in such a way that her salvation became more important than food and drink. That is evident in the narrative of John 4, verse 34.
Yeah. So remember the question that the woman said to Jesus, "How is it you, a Jew, are talking to me, a Samaritan?" So he obviously put all that stuff aside, to try to reach her. And, there it says as well, in caring, and welfare, these are all things that he's bringing out here about this focus that he had on her. And so, that's supposed to mark our life as well, as we, reach out to people. Do you care? And, you might care, but it seems like people aren't responding to you. Well, ask yourself why. What am I doing, or what are people seeing? This past week I had a prospective person come in, looking for a job, and we had her take a test. And so I walked into the room where she was. I'm smiling, very happy, called her by name, and said, "Oh, I'm so glad to meet you." She barely even cracked a smile as she returned, the conversation. And then, I noticed as my wife took her down the hall and introduced her to a few people there in the office, same type of thing. And I asked my one dental assistant, I said, "So what do you think of this girl?" She said, "Honestly, she looks mean." And so we don't want to look mean. It actually reminds me, in my prior years, I don't know how many of you guys saw that movie, Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Did you see the animated version?
Yes.
Anyway, I think the Beast is getting all dressed up and everything, and one of the butler or somebody says to him, "Smile," and he smiles and it looks like a growl or something. He's like, "Not like that." And so look at the mirror at yourself. When you talk, when you make your facial expressions, what do people see? Does it look friendly to you? Or do you look like you got a chip on your shoulder? I'd say something in that girl's life isn't going very well. Because how can you, when someone comes up to you very friendly, very, smiling and happy, can you not respond?
Number one, she's looking for a job.
Well, I know that.
But I'm just saying that's one thing in her life.
Yeah.
That's
Who knows why?
Could have been nerves.
Yeah, my wife is using that excuse.
Yeah.
Usually I'm a pretty good judge of character, so I'm doubtful
Okay.
that that's the
But you're-
case.
You're a tall person. Okay. And some people feel a little bit thrown off, a little bit of anxiety when someone, especially if they have letters after their name, okay, they just feel a little uneasy. And
Yeah,
that happens. I set up a lot of interviews for my work,
okay.
and there's a ton of people, and some people are so quiet, and even in meetings,
Yeah.
they read really fast,
Yeah.
they talk really fast, and you
Yeah.
can't understand what they're saying,
Yeah.
and they're just so nervous.
Right. Yeah. Well, this girl, she's working at the front desk at another doctor's office, I think a foot doctor or something. So she's in public, relations. So I'd say that should have been worked out, just by the experience. And, but anyway, we're not here to problem solve that. But, my point is, that the way you express yourself, to a large degree, people are simply a mirror. So, and that's usually how they respond back to you. And if they don't, then it's like, okay, did I not present myself correctly? Did I maybe step on a toe or something? But if that's not the case, you can ask maybe other people that saw you. So what did you think about how I presented myself? And if everyone else says you're okay, well then, it could be there's just something going on in that individual.
Yeah.
And we don't always know. There's a lot of sadness in this world. And all kinds of things that, make things hard for people. And in a way, actually, these are the people that we're looking for. Because they're the people that could really benefit from knowing God, knowing Christ as their Savior. Because their heart of trouble, their things going on in their life, they can actually find peace if they'll open up to God.
That's right.
Yeah. So don't turn those away. From a job standpoint, I can't bring someone into my office that's going to cause trouble. So I have to be careful with that. But from a personal relationship and ministry standpoint, oftentimes these people are actually great mission fields.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we want to try to be a blessing. Okay, next paragraph.
When the disciples brought him food, he said, "My food is to do the will of him who sent me, and to finish his work." The Samaritan woman came to fetch water to quench her thirst, but left without it. He asked for a drink of water, but left without receiving it. The disciples had gone to bring him food to satisfy his hunger, but when they get back with the food, he was not hungry anymore. Yet they both were exceedingly satisfied, she with the water of life, and he with her salvation. As his words to the woman had aroused her conscience, Jesus rejoiced. He was her drinking of the water of life, and his own hunger and thirst were satisfied. The Desire of Ages, page 191.
Well, have you guys experienced anything like this before? Sometimes they're at work. I'll get to talking to a patient shortly before lunch, and I've sometimes talked all the way through lunch, with the patient. And my wife will come to the door, "Dan, you need to eat lunch." This is exactly what I'll respond back to her. "I have food which you know not of." And she says, "Yes, but you need to eat." I will. For me, it's pure joy, pure satisfaction to be able to touch the life of somebody.
Right.
I got a girl at work that she will either call or text. It's the one who calls and says, "I need my daily,"
Wow.
So she messaged, I guess there's some conflict between her and her daughter, and she's like, "Should I feel bad?" And I said, "No." And then I just simply explained to her, you can only love her as much as she lets you, and you can't change her heart. You have to pray for her. And then, you're doing everything you can. You can't apologize, and I said, "So no, just pray. That's all you can do. You can't change her heart. She has to."
Yeah.
So, and she's like, "Thank you. I knew you'd make me feel better."
Yeah.
So.
And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be a word of encouragement, and I challenge a lot of people with truth, and because I think it's important that we not just have the spirit of love, but we also know truth. Because if I'm locked in deception, if I'm locked in a lie, and I think something is true, and someone has the truth and they refuse to tell me, how would I be? If I found out later they knew and they wouldn't tell me.
I would be
Pretty
upset.
upset.
Yeah, I'd be like, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah.
That's why I tell people all the time, tell me.
Yeah,
I want to know.
yeah. Yeah, I might react negatively at first, but God does speak to me. He lets me know. So, alrighty.
I had a situation one time when I tried to.
Pardon?
I had a situation one time when I approached an individual and questioned why they do it this way instead of the way the Bible is, and their response was, "That's the way I always did it,
Mm-hmm.
tradition."
Yeah.
And basically said, "I'm not going to change."
Yeah, and people make
And
that
I
choice.
said-
Yeah, people make that choice. I mean, there's nothing we can do. We can't force them. We can't, push them. But I mean, all we can do is just present it out there.
All we
Yeah.
can do is
Try to be
practice.
kind. Try to be, caring about how you present it, and be respectful. If they're not interested, nothing I can do.
And I still pray for him. So.
Yeah, nothing I can do to make someone change. So, and don't take it personally.
No.
But all right. See, I think it's my turn, isn't it?
Yep.
Mhm.
Let's see here. Yeah, okay, I got it up. Usually we react toward people rather than act. We wait for others to take the initiative. If they greet us, we'll say hi to them. And if they ignore us, we'll pay no attention to them. In a sense, then, we forfeit our prerogative to act, thereby letting the actions or inactions of others determine how we will relate to them. Once I saw a poster that declared, "I am me and you are you. I am not in this world to please you, and you are not in this world to please me. If we happen to meet, that is fine. If we don't, that is fine too." What do you think about that?
I don't like it.
Why not?
It's
That is a very
That's, like,
self-centered individual.
It's cold.
person.
yeah.
Very
It's like
cold.
if we never meet, oh well, who cares?
Hmm.
No.
Yeah.
That's not how it should be.
Well, look how many eyes are in there.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Really
I
good
noticed.
point. Yeah.
It's that whole I mentality.
Yeah, so this guy might be a narcissist.
Mhm.
It's all about him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so that's just like when I am at work. If I will say hi to someone, and if they go to walk by, I'm like, "Hi," and they're like,
That's good.
"I do
I
it
like that.
all the time."
Mhm.
And people
Yeah.
are like, "Why do you do that?" I said, "Because I want to say hi."
Mhm.
But if you put a smile on, even if you're being
Yeah.
goofy,
Yeah,
and put a smile on somebody's
Mm.
face, sometimes that's all it takes to change their day.
yeah.
Mhm.
For me, I don't know if you're going to call this selfish, but for me, I see everyone as an opportunity to learn
Yes.
something new. I see everyone as an opportunity to hear a new and unique story. And I think I mentioned to you guys before that my favorite question with Christians that I meet is I like to ask them the question, "Tell me how you came to know Jesus." Because I hear all kinds of stories. And a lot of them are just like, "Wow, really? That's what happened?" And so when we go new places and we're in places where we can have some time and we get to know people, that's my favorite thing to do. And so having the apathy like we read about here is well, if I meet you, that's fine. If I don't meet you, that's fine too. Who's the loser?
Both are.
Can be both, but somebody could be walking by with quite a gem, and you just let it walk by. Or that person who walked by you, if you would have taken a little time to get to know them, could have ended up becoming your new best friend.
That's right.
Yep.
And so yeah, let's not have that mindset. That's for sure. Okay, Bev, next one.
Its philosophy left me with an empty feeling. Even animals show more caring than that. The Bible contains numerous references to all the initiatives that Christ takes towards us. A life molded after His is not a passive one, for the Christian is his brother's keeper, and he is to look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. None of us lives to himself, and none of us dies to himself.
Yeah, I've heard it said that life is like a big pond, and we are like the little pebbles or stones that get thrown into the pond, and that little ripple will go all the way across the pond.
Mm-hmm.
Might get swallowed up by other bigger ripples or waves, but it's still there. That energy dissipates.
Mm-hmm.
So we are not, to ourselves, but what do you guys think about this passiveness versus being active? One of the questions that a lot of times I'll ask my hygiene patients is, how you doing? Just general discussion. And then a lot of times I'll ask them, so like this time of year, I'll ask them, so you have any plans this year? Gonna do anything interesting this summer? How many, if you were to say percentage-wise, how many people do you think actually have active thoughts and plans of what they want to do this summer?
50-50.
Do you think about half and half?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have a venture?
I'm
This is a question I ask all the time, so I've got a pretty good statistic, I think.
going to say maybe 20%
20% what?
that have an active, plan.
They have something in mind that they want to do. The other 80% are what I would categorize as passive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, I don't know. Don't have any plans.
So what's your take?
Anybody else want to venture a guess?
I'm going to agree with Angela and say about 25%.
Well, in this case, majority rules. It is about 20% people actually have an active plan.
Mm-hmm.
Either they're going to go on a vacation, or they're going to go visit family, or they've got something going on in their head. And so, I don't know, is it possible then that 80% of people are passive?
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of scary too.
Yeah.
80% of people possibly can be passive in how they live their life. And basically what Philip here is saying in this book is, don't be part of the 80%. Be part of the 20 that actually makes a plan, acts on your plan, in order to try to improve your life and those people around you. What do you think about that?
It's amazing. Awesome.
If
Yeah.
someone doesn't have a plan, they're just, it's. I think there's a Bible verse somewhere that they're just blowing with the wind,
Mm-hmm.
right? They just go every which way the wind blows, wherever it takes them.
A ship without a rudder.
Pardon?
A ship without a rudder.
Yes.
Because a rudder, even though the wind is blowing that direction, you can sail that direction. Because the rudder will take you where you're trying to make it go.
Well, and just to add to that, passive people, 9 times out of 10 will follow versus
Yes.
lead out.
Yes.
So they're more easily led
Yeah.
astray or
Yep.
into situations that they otherwise would not venture into.
Can be. Yep. So, it's very possible that if you're going to take an active initiative, like Angela, why do you do that? It's because 80% of them would not do that because they're not going to take that active initiative to try to be friendly to somebody.
Well, I tell you, you know what? Your voice has to be heard.
Your voice has to be heard.
I'm a firm believer that
Yeah.
it's like you sometimes are your own worst enemies.
Can be.
You are.
Yeah.
If you're passive, then you are basically giving a free pass to somebody to do whatever
Yeah.
or lead you somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It, instead of hitting the brakes and like, no, like, I wouldn't do that, I don't wanna do that.
Yep.
As like where I go into the office and I will say, hey,
Mhm.
and I will make people say hi to me.
Yeah.
Not to be rude,
No.
but you have to kind of draw people out. Like I've told this story before, I worked in mental health, and a lady, I was walking by in the morning and I said, good morning, and then she stopped me. And she said, do you know you're the only one that said hi to me in 2 hours?
Oh, wow. Wow.
And I said, I am so sorry that you were ignored. And I said, I'm on my way to a meeting. I will make sure that I tell the people that. And I did,
Mm.
all management. And I said, this lady sat here feeling ignored for 2 hours.
Mm.
Nobody said hi. And every one of you walked up that plank
Mm.
and didn't say a word to her.
So how'd they respond?
And they're like, oh. And I'm like, yeah.
Mm.
I said, we can never be too busy to stop and say hi to somebody. And that's why I will say hi, no
Yeah.
matter what.
Yeah.
Because that hi could turn someone's day
Yeah.
around.
You could trigger something.
Yeah.
My wife,
She was so grateful.
yeah,
I mean, we had a conversation for a few minutes and then she was
yeah,
fine.
Yep.
But before then, she was feeling very ignored and rejected.
Yep.
And for a mental health patient, that could be
that's
devastating.
not good. Yeah,
So,
yeah. My wife, when she first came to America, her English was not very good. And so she decided, well, I might not be able to, quotes, have a conversation with somebody, but I can smile. And I can be friendly because at least I can let somebody know that I care. And so, you know, we might not be able to do anything great. We might not have any, great thoughts or things in our head to say. But sometimes just the genuineness of friendliness. And there at my office, you know, many people tell me I have a sweet wife. What does she do? You've seen her?
She reaches a certain, there's percentages of personalities. Angela reaches a certain percentage.
Yeah.
Your wife reaches a certain, you can't
Yeah.
reach everyone,
No.
okay? You
No.
will never reach everyone. Your wife will never reach, but
No.
there's that percentage of
Sure.
people that look in her eyes
Yeah.
and immediately, right,
Yeah.
see that smile on her face,
Mhm.
and she has entered their heart,
Mhm.
as Angela has done with this lady. So we're working with different sets of personalities, and that's why it takes all kinds of people
Yep.
in the church, in God's church,
Yep.
to reach the different sets.
Yep.
it's true. Very true.
So I don't know,
So many
did
different
Miss Unsook come and hold your hand when we took out your teeth?
No.
She didn't?
No.
That's actually a common thing that she'll
Does she
do.
do that?
And I'll tease her a little bit. You're holding another man's hand right in front of me.
Oh, boy.
You used your voice. You used your passive voice, right?
We tease each other a bit. That's one thing's for sure. I'm not worried about her, and she's not worried about me. So, anyway, well, it looks like we kind of ended this section here. We'll move on next time to a catalyst for change, which I believe you are to be that catalyst of change. But any further comments or thoughts here before we close?
I think we just all need to make a more conscious choice to be aware
Be active.
and reach out to people. I mean, even if it's just a smile.
Yep.
Grasp those opportunities.
Yep.
Yeah. And they come